Living so boldly as a freeloader is a bit audacious, don't you think? Huh? What are you saying, Patty? Even though you have your own child, you being a freeloader is a nuisance. Freeloaders should sleep in the hallway. For her, it was probably just a small prank. But for me, there couldn't have been anything more convenient. I questioned my sneering sister-in-law. Do you think I'm a bother, Patty? Yes, because you are an outsider. Since I've returned to this home, I don't want to see the face of someone freeloading. Is that so? I understood. Immediately, I gathered my belongings, grabbed my large travel bag, and informed my in-laws. In that case, I will also return to my parents' home. The expression on my in-laws' faces at that moment is something I will never forget. Suppressing laughter, I left. I am Ashley Stewart, 28 years old. After graduating high school, I pursued a design school and later started working in the advertising industry. While working, I also received requests to draw illustrations on social media and became somewhat known in the industry. During my student years, I published illustrations on social media that received a wide range of feedback, leading to a rapid increase in my followers. As a result, I started receiving paid requests and now have the freedom to choose a certain number of requests to undertake every month. The company I work for respects my personal activities and allows me to prioritize them. I got married about half a year ago, and I met my husband, Kevin, at a party. I met him at the party I attended on a whim, and it led to marriage, proving life is unpredictable. After all, I wasn't keen on attending parties in general. Kevin works for a trading company, and while his income is stable, the only downside is his frequent business trips. His job as a businessman requires him to travel to various places frequently. Concerned about me being alone at home due to his trips, he made a suggestion when we decided to marry. Hey Ashley, if you're okay with it, why don't we live together at my parents' home? Do you mean living together with your parents? Yes. I'm worried about you being alone while I'm on business trips. I'll be fine. I've been on my own all this time. But you mentioned before that you were troubled by a stalker, right? It's good that the perpetrator was arrested, but I want to avoid a similar situation. Kevin, indeed, during our relationship, I suffered from persistent stalking. It made me afraid to go out for a while, and I still feel anxious being alone. Living with my in-laws was a big step, but considering safety, it might be the best choice. Not wanting to worry Kevin further, I asked him an important question. If we were to live together, would your family accept me? It's okay. They were all happy when we announced our marriage. Really? Your parents did seem happy, but, right? So, it's no problem. If anything happened to you, both my father and mother would be worried. Is that so? Of course. If you're not against it, I'd really like us to live together at my home. If he's this worried, I don't want to make him feel anxious anymore. I made up my mind and told him, I understand. I'll marry you and live at your home. Really? Yes, so you don't have to worry anymore. Thank you. Ashley, I really appreciate it. Thus, marriage became the reason for us to start living with Kevin's parents. This would save us some money, and most importantly, it would spare my husband additional worry. We decided to contribute to the household expenses in exchange for the accommodation. However, about 2 weeks after the marriage, I realized that this decision was a mistake. That day was the first day my husband, Kevin, was going on a business trip, and he wouldn't be back for 3 days. While feeling worried, I saw him off with a smile alongside my mother-in-law. Then, my anxiety soon became a reality. Let's get started, she said as soon as Kevin disappeared from view. She forcefully pulled my arm and took me to the living room. Mother, my arm hurts. Be quiet and follow me. Mother. Her expression changed drastically, showing a face of anger I had never seen before. Upon arriving in the living room, she handed me various cleaning supplies, including a vacuum cleaner and rags. What is all this for? I exclaimed. She scoffed and said, From today, you are the maid of this house. If you don't want to leave, start cleaning right away. Huh? Mother. Don't call me mother. I really can't stand women who prettify themselves like you do. But I I didn't mean to. Stop joking around. You made a fuss about being stalked or whatever, but it's really an exaggeration, isn't it? You're just lying to get Kevin's attention, right? That's not true at all. When I encountered the stalker, it was the most terrifying experience I've ever had. Yet, being accused of exaggerating made me angry. However, since it was only 2 weeks since we started living together, showing my emotions so early could negatively affect our future life of living together. Not only me, but it could also trouble my husband. Therefore, I couldn't confront my mother-in-law with the truth. As instructed, I began cleaning the room. My mother-in-law constantly criticized every move I made, causing the work to progress slowly. When I encountered my father-in-law in the hallway, he simply smirked at me. This must be a form of bullying accepted by him towards a daughter-in-law. During the 3 days Kevin was away, my in-laws relentlessly imposed household chores on me. 6 months into our marriage, being bullied by my in-laws in Kevin's absence had become routine. Not only was I burdened with all the household tasks, but I was also demanded pocket money and forced to pay unreasonably. Meals I prepared were thrown on the floor as disgusting, and my favorite bag was intentionally spilled with alcohol. Kevin's business trips varied, lasting 3 days or a week. Every time a trip was scheduled, my heart endured pain. In retrospect, I should have spoken to my husband at the beginning and chosen to live separately. However, I couldn't betray his thoughtful suggestion to live together. The situation continued to worsen. That day, my husband was headed for a week-long business trip. As expected, I endured severe bullying from my in-laws from the first day. Then, in the afternoon, the intercom rang, and an unexpected visitor arrived. "I'm home." There's nothing like being at home. It was Kevin's sister, Patty, her husband, and their 5 children. Altogether, 7 people suddenly visited, and my in-laws were overjoyed at their grandchildren's visit. Patty and her family relaxed in the living room where I had just finished cleaning, with their feet thrown on the table. Seeing this, I could only stand frozen in disbelief. Huh? Why has Patty suddenly come? And with her entire family, no less. And to think of she would put her feet on the table in front of the children. Unbelievable. Actually, I had never met Patty before. This was because her family lived out of the state and rarely returned to the family home. So, this was my first time facing them. "Nice to meet you." Upon my greeting, Patty stared at me as if she were scrutinizing me and mockingly said, "Ha, you're Ashley, Kevin's wife?" "Yes, that's me. Kevin has always taken great care of me. I can't believe such a plain girl is Kevin's wife. So, Kevin likes plain girls, huh?" "Excuse me." At Patty's remark, everyone around us started laughing. No one tried to defend me. Seeing my reserved nature, Patty began speaking confidently as if she owned the place. "Hey, sorry, but honestly, I don't want to be sisters, even in-laws, with a woman who has neither a striking face nor style. I don't know what to say to that. When I see someone as introverted as you, it really bothers me." At Patty's sudden criticism, I found myself at a loss for words. While I remained silent and looked down, she said something even more unbelievable. "Living so openly as a freeloader, don't you think you should show some restraint? Huh? Being at home at this hour means you're just a housewife, right? A freeloader living off my parents is really a nuisance." Patty, we have children, and an outsider like you is just in the way. Why don't freeloaders sleep in the hallway? It would make it more comfortable for me." Patty looked down on me coldly. Perhaps the people in this home are incapable of understanding others' feelings. They seem comfortable demeaning and insulting others and enjoying their reactions. Except for my husband, the entire family had a cruel streak, harboring distortions in their hearts. At that moment, I felt something inside me quietly fade away. I finally decided to stand up for myself. Oh, why didn't I realize this sooner? There was never a need to go through such hardships to live with them from the beginning. With that realization, I confronted Patty with a question. "So, you find me bothersome?" "Yes. You're an outsider. Coming back to my parents' home only to see the face of a freeloader is unpleasant." "Understood." Immediately, I packed my belongings, took my large travel bag in hand, and declared to my in-laws, "Then, I'll return to my parents' home." Upon hearing this, everyone expressed their surprise. I will never forget the look on my in-laws' faces at that moment. Patty and her husband were wide-eyed with shock, and my parents-in-law showed a slight sign of disturbance. With their reactions behind me, I returned to my parents' home. That night, after arriving at my parents' home, I decided to explain the situation to my husband. When I called him, he responded immediately, "Hello, Ashley." Hearing my husband's affectionate voice nearly brought me to tears. Holding back my tears, I told him everything. "Hey, Kevin. Actually, I've come back to my parents' home today." "How? Why all of a sudden?" "Yes, I'm sorry it's so sudden, but I've reached my limit." "What happened?" "What happened when I was away?" To tell you the truth, I shared with him all the bullying I had endured, not omitting any details, including the incident that triggered it all from Patty. There was a moment of silence on the other end of the phone. "Kevin," when I asked, he responded with a heavy voice, "I'm coming back on the first flight tomorrow morning. I'll pick you up, so please, just one last time, come to my family home." "Huh? What do you mean by last time? I'll put an end to everything tomorrow. Them bullying you and our relationship with them." Kevin. His words made me cry uncontrollably. Encouraged by his determination, I decided to visit his family home one last time. The next day, I met up with my husband, who had cut his business trip short, and we went to his family home together. As we rang the doorbell, the door opened, and my mother-in-law appeared. "Oh, Kevin, why? Aren't you supposed to be on a business trip?" Seeing me by his side, my mother-in-law showed obvious confusion. With her face twitching, Kevin declared calmly, "We need to talk. Is Dad and Patty home too?" Yes. But what about? You should know. It's pointless to try to dodge the issue now." Perhaps sensing something from my husband's demeanor, my mother-in-law lost her words. Without trying to be polite, Kevin walked straight into the living room. As he forcefully opened the door, everyone inside turned to look at him. "Oh, if it isn't Kevin, what's up?" Patty said that, but my husband glared at her sharply. Then, he began to speak in a tone I had never heard him use before. "Patty, apologize to Ashley." At my husband's words, Patty responded with a mocking, "What?" Seeing her reaction, my husband must have realized she had no intention of apologizing. He opened his carry-on case and started packing his belongings in a hurry. Watching this, my mother-in-law asked timidly, "What are you doing?" To which Kevin answered calmly, "As you can see, I'm preparing to leave." "What? Why? Why are you leaving too? Don't joke with me. You've been bullying Ashley behind my back and you dare to ask that? I will never forgive you. I don't even want to think of you as my parents." Kevin, perhaps deeply hurt by their son's words, my parents-in-law stood there, pale-faced. At that moment, Patty, who had been watching the situation, laughed and said to her parents, "Hey, what's wrong? Dad, Mom." "Never mind, Kevin. We should be lucky that failure of a wife is leaving." "Hey, Patty, you." "Patty, stop it. Not anymore. All I need is pocket money from home. Whether Kevin and Ashley are here or not doesn't matter to me." At Patty's words, my husband asked, "Pocket money?" She answered with satisfaction, "Yes, Dad and Mom spoil me, sending money every month." "You're jealous, right? How much every month?" "Well, about $500. Sometimes it goes up to $1,000. "Huh? I see. Huh? What's wrong?" Patty seemed oblivious to the fact that her parents had no real income. The money extracted from me was likely sent to Patty by her parents. After exchanging a mutual nod of agreement with my husband, I calmly spoke to Patty. "Actually, that money was earned through my work." "What? What are you talking about? You're just a freeloader with no income." "There seems to be a misunderstanding. I work as a full-time employee, primarily from home, prioritizing my work there." "What? You actually have a job?" "Yes, I work full-time and receive a salary. I also have income from personal illustration commissions." I've paid the money demanded by your parents multiple times. What? Wait, the money I've been receiving. Yes, it was my earned income. What? Patty seemed to grasp the gravity of the situation, muttering, "What have I done?" as she held her head. Her face contorted as she looked at me, seemingly pleading for help from a desperate situation. Ashley, I truly am sorry. I had no idea. I just assumed the money came from something like Dad's retirement fund. And what are you trying to say? It seems there's a big misunderstanding. I said inappropriate things without knowing anything. I never meant it in the way it came out, so I was hoping you could continue the money support. Why was she still trying to maintain a connection with me under these circumstances? Feeling demeaned and my anger boiling inside, I found myself unable to hold back my emotions, regardless of who was watching. Absolutely laughable. A misunderstanding? You knew nothing? Do you really think such flimsy excuses justify everything? Do you truly understand the depth of the wounds you've inflicted on us? I'm truly sorry, from the bottom of my heart. Please, can you continue the money support? What? How can such an absurd proposition even be considered? Why should I continue to send money to such heartless people? Even if you're Kevin's family, I cannot condone this. There's no way I would do anything for you. So, never show up in front of me again. With these words, Patty collapsed to her knees, overwhelmed. Then she exploded in frustration towards her parents. What are you going to do now? Causing a heated argument in the living room. Amidst the chaos, my husband and I decided to quietly leave his family home. Shortly after, a rift developed between Patty and her parents. Eventually, her parents faced the sadness of not seeing their grandchildren, and Patty lost her regular source of income from me, leading to a situation beneficial to neither party. I later learned that Patty's family was in a dire financial situation. Her husband had lost his job and showed no interest in finding new employment, straining their finances. Patty's continued reliance on her parents was a desperate attempt to manage their situation. However, the cessation of remittances made their already difficult life even more challenging. Now, Patty is juggling multiple part-time jobs to support her family. My husband and I have started a new life in an apartment near my parents' home. While he is away on business trips, I enjoy relaxing times at home. If only we had made this choice from the beginning, my husband said with a hint of embarrassment. But I didn't want him to feel responsible. On the contrary, I am deeply grateful to him. When I reached my limit, he immediately listened to my pleas and took action. I am truly comforted by his acceptance of me and my feelings. That fact has been incredibly heartwarming for me. Together with my husband, I believe we can deepen our bond and continue a relationship built on mutual trust. Rescued by him, I look forward to leading a fulfilling married life together as a wonderful couple. My son, who earns a high income, and you, who spend every day without working, are not compatible. My son and I are planning to live here from now on, so please leave immediately. It happened on a day when my husband, who usually stays in his room, had gone out for a bit. Suddenly, the intercom at my house buzzed incessantly, and when I opened the door, my mother-in-law was standing there, looking excited. Taken aback by this sudden visit, I asked, "Hello, mother-in-law. What brings you here at this time?" Before anything, answer the intercom immediately when it rings. Making me wait is quite rude, don't you think? I'm sorry, I was a bit tied up with work. Work? It's hard to believe you do any real work at home. I bet you're just lazing around, aren't you? That's not true. I'm genuinely working. I don't want to hear excuses. You live a comfortable life here every day, yet benefit from my son's high salary. I think it's unfair. We intend to start a new life here, just my son and I. Could you find somewhere else to go? She pulled out a piece of paper from an envelope she was holding and handed it to me with a smug smile. Here, take a look. The paper read divorce papers. Moreover, my husband's section was already filled out. Wait, are these divorce papers? Yes. He's also come to realize he can't be with you any longer. So, sign this and leave this place immediately." She looked incredibly proud of herself, perhaps relishing the shock she imagined I'd be in. But I wasn't as flustered as she thought. With a slight smile, I promptly signed the divorce papers. Inwardly, I couldn't help but chuckle at how much she misunderstood. She didn't know anything. "My name is Nancy. I work from home, hustling as a freelance writer and editor. I used to work for a publishing company, so I've leveraged that experience to maintain a stable income even now." While working at the publishing company, it wasn't uncommon to work late into the night or even on weekends. But the compensation was good, and thanks to my salary, bonuses, and copyright-related rewards from the publishing world, I managed to save a considerable amount. Thanks to that, despite the instability of freelancing, I've been able to live comfortably. I met my husband, Dylan, while working together at the publishing company. He was an aspiring writer, chasing his dreams, and I supported and resonated with his passion. Gradually, my feelings of appreciation turned into love, leading to our marriage. Initially, our married life was fulfilling as we supported each other's careers. Upon getting married, I started freelancing, switching to working from home. Until then, I believed both my husband and in-laws understood and appreciated my career and income. However, as time passed, it seemed their misunderstandings about my work grew. My in-laws held traditional values. In their generation, the concept of working from home wasn't common. They also perceived freelancing as unstable, especially compared to my husband's regular employment, and thus devalued my work. Additionally, Dylan began telling his parents how successful he had become as a renowned writer. Because of this, the cold attitude of my in-laws towards me intensified. Every time we met, they'd sarcastically say things like, "Oh, look, it's Nancy who doesn't seem to work much. What brings you here today? Looking for a job recommendation? Mother-in-law, if you're concerned about our living expenses, I apologize, but I'm earning well, so there's no need to worry. Well, you sound quite confident. Maybe you should show more gratitude to Dylan. Without him, you'd be in trouble, wouldn't you?" My mother-in-law had old-fashioned values. In her generation, women typically managed the household while men worked outside. Thus, seeing me work from home, she likely assumed I was shirking housework. The story paints a picture of generational and cultural differences, misunderstandings, and challenges within a family. Mother-in-law, freelancing means that you can earn a good income even without going to an office and working from home. Nowadays, with technological advancements, we can work from anywhere, and my job falls into that category. However, my mother-in-law responded angrily, "All you do is talk back. You're such an unpleasant daughter-in-law. It just doesn't look natural for a young woman to be messing around with a computer at home all day." Lately, these kinds of conversations had been recurring, and I was honestly getting a bit tired of it. I swallowed down my retort, thinking, "Not this topic again." Inwardly, I thought, in reality, I'm the main breadwinner, and I handle most of the housework, but I didn't say it out loud. In the beginning, her occasional complaints only occurred when Dylan wasn't around, but recently, she's been saying them more openly, especially during family dinners at her house, which felt more like a session to criticize me than anything else. Despite being invited, only Dylan's portion of food would be on the table. There was no seat for me, making it very uncomfortable. Moreover, she seemed to badmouth me to other relatives, and I could hear whispered comments, which were very unpleasant. I was often taken aback by her and my father-in-law's attitudes, but Dylan's silence also irritated me. On top of that, they saw Dylan as a successful author and relied on him for money, often asking him to buy things. This was funded by the money I earned. Initially, it was a small amount, but lately, I noticed we were spending almost $2,000 monthly for his parents. I decided to tell Dylan, "I want you to stop giving my earnings to your parents without asking me." But his response was colder than I expected. "You're earning money while relaxing at home, right? It's easy money, so why not let my parents use a bit of it?" "Wait, Dylan, Do you really think I'm just lounging around at home to earn my money? I couldn't hide my shock at his words. It felt like the last straw. I felt betrayed, confused, and sad. Even though there were challenges with his parents and our differing backgrounds, I believed Dylan was on my side, which helped me persevere. That reassurance was shattered by his words. Dylan, who I thought understood my feelings and efforts, ended up joining those who mocked me behind my back. I remembered our first date when he passionately talked about his work, shared dreams, and values. I was drawn to his enthusiasm and sincerity. But lately, he seemed to have forgotten his dreams and passion and spent his days aimlessly, often engrossed in games. And that figure was completely different from the person he was when we first met. Games aren't bad in themselves, but his obsession made him neglect his passion for writing, which saddened and angered me. I started questioning if I should continue my future with Dylan. If my relationship with Dylan continued, what would become of my life? Even when I tried to imagine a future with him, I could only see a bleak future. Thus, I decided to divorce him and secretly began looking for a new place to live. I searched online for apartments suitable for singles and visited a few properties for viewing. Focusing on apartments with a quiet living environment and strong security, I finally decided on one property. One day, while Dylan, who usually played games in his room, was out, my mother-in-law visited. Surprised by her sudden visit, I opened the door. Without waiting, she sat on the living room sofa and bluntly said, "Nancy, you should leave this place." "What are you saying all of a sudden?" I was too shocked to respond. "Isn't it obvious? You're bad at housework. And even after Dylan became a popular author, you haven't changed. Above all, you can't even work properly. But I've told you many times that it's a misunderstanding. Haven't I?" However, my mother-in-law interrupted me, smiling gently. "I plan to live here and support Dylan. Taking care of him is much better than looking after that noisy old lady." By noisy old lady, do you mean Dylan's grandmother? Yes, that woman who is technically my mother-in-law. Even though I've done so much for her, she always finds fault. She shows no gratitude, and I'm fed up. If I live here, I can take care of Dylan, and he can focus on his work without any hindrance. Isn't that wonderful? With that, she pulled out a piece of paper from the envelope she held. "So, would you please leave this house immediately?" As I listened to her words, I accepted the divorce papers she held out. They had been signed by Dylan. Did Dylan really sign this? A little while ago, I suggested to Dylan that it might be better for both of you to get a divorce. It seems he was fed up with you two because he signed it without hesitation, she said with a playful tone. Everything that followed happened so quickly. I took my pre-packed bags and promptly decided to move to a new apartment. During the move, I also managed to file the divorce papers, and a new life began. My new life was more smooth and comfortable than I had expected. My small apartment had only essential furniture and appliances, and its simplicity seemed to boost my focus. I was free from complications, and each day was calm and peaceful. I'd wake up to natural light streaming in through the window and the sound of birds chirping in the distance. I would get up whenever I wanted, eat breakfast, and plan my day. When I start working, I get so engrossed that time would fly by. It felt heavenly not having to worry about the gaze and expectations of Dylan and my parents-in-laws, and to be able to work at my own pace. One day, as I was engrossed in work at my desk, my smartphone vibrated. It was a call from Dylan. I hesitated but decided to answer. "Nancy, please come back right now." A desperate Dylan pleaded. "Why would you want me to come back all of a sudden?" To be honest, my parents found out I lied about being a popular author. I'm under immense pressure now. They're even talking about moving in, expecting to live off my earnings. So, please, can you come back? I see, but returning isn't that simple. You chose to sign the divorce papers, didn't you? So did I. We're not on the same path anymore. So deal with your issues yourself. It's none of my business. His voice was a mix of desperation and sadness. But I believe we should be together. Please come back. Firmly, I responded, we've chosen different lives now. I could hear Dylan taking a deep breath on the other end. I understand, but since the divorce, there have been many troubles, and it's costing me a lot. I need assistance with expenses like the care fees for our parents and compensations for the chaos it caused. Why are you suddenly talking about this? I think your decisions played a part in ruining all of my plans. How dare you? Remember when we were married how you and your parents mocked me? I didn't want to say this, but now you seem like an enemy. Your financial troubles arise because you don't work properly. Find another way to sort it out. I wish you wouldn't rely on me for everything. With that, I ended the call. Despite numerous subsequent calls from Dylan, I blocked him and changed my number. A few months later, I happened to pass by where his house used to be. Instead of his house, there was now just an empty land. A nearby resident told me about the recent disputes at his place, with police getting involved at times. The neighbor's words seemed to contain all the emotions of the situation. As she said, you must have gone through a lot too. There must have been a lot of turmoil leading to the loss of his house. I stood there for a while, reflecting on our past. The unexpected outcome might be some kind of karma. Dylan's little lie had had such a significant impact, more unbelievable than any story he might have written. From then on, I pledged to myself to live honestly, expressing my feelings and thoughts without lies or pretense. No matter how challenging things get, I recognize the importance of conveying the truth and cherishing genuine feelings.